Please don't tell me he ended up, like, dying of malnourishment because he refused to eat the chicken on board the ship. Which would all the more for me. Oh no, does that mean poor Cosmo-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible. Now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Okay. What about the disc? This is where dear Cosmo-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. Huh. The candle's knocked over too. Like, there's clearly some turbulence going on, I think. London Diary. Poor Cosmo. He didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means... what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. Yeah! What? That's out of the question. Susato, I know it's generally a faux pas to read someone else's diary, but a couple of factors. Firstly, he is dead. Secondly, this is vital evidence to, solving his murder. Like, can we not have a little grace, a minor exception in this one case? What? Kazuo-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. But what if it's something important, something relevant to the case? And also, you aren't really one to talk. You were the one who stole the research notes we used in the previous case. How is this any different? All right. I won't read it. You can read it instead and summarize it for me. How about that? Is that a compromise we can reach? Nope? Okay. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either. But in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Okay, what do we got over here? Okay. We know this is going to be the key to the locked room mystery, so let's just examine it. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. Yes, a ventilator. I.e., another potential entry and exit point into the room. No? A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that. I suppose. Maybe that's it? What the? Who's that? Was there a minute ago? As far as I can tell, looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he? You've noticed the man too, haven't you? Have you? I have no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious and tall. Suspiciously tall, in fact. No, Hida-san, don't tell me. No, I did not kill this man as well. Do you really not know who that is? Should I? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. Something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Kazuo's desk? Or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. I don't know him, therefore we need to talk to him. I'm not sure I quite follow, but okay. Am I just imagining it, or does Susato-san look almost uncontrollably excited? By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case, if you press A on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. Okay, sure. Hello, strange man. Hola. Excuse me? Excuse me? Do you have a moment? Shh. This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Or maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings! I hope I haven't something. History. Greetings! I hope I haven't kept you long. What exactly were we doing on Cosmo's desk just now? Oh, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? How? Why? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least. But how? Susanna, please don't tell me you actually believe that I've been to Afghanistan. It's a landlocked country. I live in Japan. I'm just on a boat from Japan. When would I have gotten to Afghanistan in this course? How the deuce did I know that? Perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? Other than the fact that I was in a country that I wasn't in? Any other great deductions, Mr. Herlock? Mr. Sholmes? But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madame. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being as you are a merciless revolutionary. Okay, so he's accused me of going to Afghanistan, being Russian, and given merciless revolutionary in the early 1900s, which I believe is when this game takes place, would also make me a communist. He's accusing me of being a communist right now. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. I suppose your form of deductive reasoning is the throw it on the wall and see it sticks method? And when the bare-boned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. It's unbelievable. Everything that you just said was completely wrong. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? Maybe the crewman, perhaps? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. Also, do I look Russian to you? Susato, you didn't buy that. So it's true. Susato, please, sweetheart. When would I have gone to Afghanistan? We've known each other. A bit. I'm clearly not Russian. And have I ever sounded like a communist in your midst before? It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama. Look, I know this guy here is pretty charismatic. But you know, letting charisma supersede idiocy is how the world has gotten to the political state it's in right now. What? And you're plotting a revolution too? You know who those are? It's gonna be terrible. It's shameful behavior, Naruto-san. Absolutely wicked. No, listen. So yeah. Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary. Obviously! Oh, forgive me. And as for you? What kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. But was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not? You are worse than fortune tellers. You said like 10 things, and the fact that one of them happened to be correct, now you're justifying the whole thing? Nah. Well, yes, maybe. Ha! There you have it, you see. What do you make of that, Well, to be honest, this ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. It's not exactly a great leap in logic to deduce I'm not exactly in the best of circumstances at the moment. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, and observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles. You see, I announce my findings with a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I'm none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable Sherlock Holmes. So, it's really you? The actual Sherlock Holmes? The very same. The inimitable, actual Sherlock Holmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world? Naruto-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. Except for you, apparently. You dummy. What planet have I been living on, then? The only guy I know of is this Sherlock Holmes fellow, and I'm pretty sure he was a fictional character in the public domain. So I'm not sure why they brought his knockoff in here. Whatever. We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? I'm gonna do some of my own examination first. I've got more faith in my own eyes. What the heck is this thing? This is... Yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? That sounds almost magical. Shall we give it a little try? Yes! In the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lovely Japanese people. Oh. No, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy, that's all. Oh. And the wardrobe, of course. The centerpiece of the room. By centerpiece, I mean nowhere near the center of the room. It's 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruto-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. It's more akin to my bed than my room, I would say. Oh no, I suppose not. Oh, that must have been rather exciting, making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I basically did have to live in the wardrobe. And no, there's not a Narnia effect in there, it's quite dull and boring. Last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin? Exactly. Well, no, sadly not. Alright. So, Mr. Sholmes, what say you? Great detective. So, you're a great detective, are you? So, what was your name again? Indeed, I'm none other than the one and only Sherlock Sholmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Herlock, was it? No, I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, Rand's magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Okay, I've got a bit of an Anglophile here. Yes, here it is. The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you've started to think you really are a detective? Make no mistake, I'm not the poor, deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. I presume that'd be Dr. Watson, right? You have a biographer, do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Watson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? Hold on, wait, did I misread that? It is Dr. Wilson! Sorry! It's Dr. Wilson, not Dr. Watson. Wilson. Wilson! Okay. I must say thanks to that publication. I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I am returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science, logical reasoning in its purest form. A science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, twitching of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin. All of these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. as I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? So, you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction and fame. That is what makes me the one and only Sherlock Holmes. So what were you just investigating, exactly? Before we started talking, you were examining Cosmo's desk, weren't you? Cosmo, ah yes, the victim. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. We see that the victim was engaged in penning some text. London diary. Cosmo was keeping notes of the trip. Ah, but I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. And something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, wait, see. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. No, it's not. Susato-san? Aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naharu-san. What on earth do you mean? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim. It would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, bonsai, Mikaido, nado. I trust you're suitably impressed. Heh. But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. So what was all that showing off about before, then? If you'd be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madame. The final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray go on. The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Kazuma's diary has been entered into the court record. A diary Kazuma was keeping of his trip to London. According to the last entry he made before his death, he spied what appeared to be a speckled band. Let's talk about his death. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything? My dear fellow. Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him.
When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all of the crew members to force the cabin door open.
And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective, Sherlock Holmes, was on board. And the handcuffs seemed to be an excellent fit for Mr. Naruto. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh, really? Two facts, you say? Now, as for the two facts, what were they, and how exactly were they wrong? Mr. Sholmes, tell us, please. What two facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin this morning? Ah, yes, but first, let us be precise. The two facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The two facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number one, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number two, the victim was Russian. Wait, what? The victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Russian? That's what you came to? Did he look Russian? But I don't know the Japanese characters are. His diary is written in Japanese. Is that something Russians do for fun? There's a katana laying on the floor. Oh boy. Hold on, Mr. Sholmes. What made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. However you pronounce that, I do not know how to pronounce the Cyrillic alphabet. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Wow. What?
Do you think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian?
In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian? Was he? Initially, I considered God or Rob, maybe the name of the killer. A certain Robert God, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe there at least.
Where you found Mr. Naruto sleeping soundly.
Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you are acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people.
Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea.
And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. It's just me, or does his finger look a bit dry to have been writing the message? This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, because it had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this.
Are you alright, Mr. Naruto?
Oh, yes. Thank you. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. The Russian word for wardrobe in purple ink. It would appear to have been written in the victim's final moments. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes? What, pray? You mentioned Russian before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all of that. Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Whatever that word is. Certainly, if it interests you. How many times? I'm not Russian, and I don't speak Russian. Okay. So. Can we talk about your deduction before? Things you concluded about me, I mean. Ah. The now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. The ones that were completely and irredeemably wrong, you know, those ones. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 people part. Ah, yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary villain Borschtchev flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Cosmo a Russian? Sounds like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was Russian because of what Cosmo-sama wrote on the floor? It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. Just because there's a news story that was moderately similar to, you know, our current circumstances doesn't necessarily mean the two are connected. One who had killed the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, villain Borschtchev! Or Borschtchik. There was a picture in that article. You want to cross-reference them, perhaps? No! How could it be me? I don't look anything like this man. Just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. This is how far the detective system has fallen. We've got the world's greatest detective using dad jokes to tie his plot threads together. We're doomed. Okay. Please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What are the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower. Ah, yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far and those he is plotting. It could be fake news. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? And what about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik has recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it, anyway? It's a landlocked Central Asian country. This Afghanistan place? Like, a bit northwest of India and Pakistan? Yeah, take the paper for yourself. That's a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. So I'm your rubbish bin now. Great. The article about the revolutionary has been entered into the court record. An article on the front page of a Russian newspaper. The headline reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back? Cast your eye over it sometime if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt to just glance at the article. Maybe there'd be a picture or two. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least.
Do you have somewhere to go?
As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe, and if I am still too long, the seasickness takes hold.
Oh, I suppose you're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to?
Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate. Hence, the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think, perhaps, that we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. But why? A simple glance at your wrist should reveal the answer. Oh. These. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No? There's no point in trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. Wait, why am I in handcuffs? Susada, was this you? You wasn't joking. You just said it only a moment ago. Jimmy, you are clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing.
Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that too.
You're quite sure? Oh, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know? Not really. So what? Were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? You're going all like 1984 on us, trying to like memory hole what you just said. It's disturbing. What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Okay? We have a madman running this operation. Oh, great. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His sense of humor is as twisted as his name.
Naruto-san, what are you just standing there for?
Huh?
We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well.
Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? So I can... Yeah! I don't think I deserve that one.
After Kazuo-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us with a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate?
As if you gave me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigation to finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door.
Good idea.
The situation doesn't look good for me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this and bring the real culprit to justice.